They came over the ridge. Two men walking slowly. Their bodies bent beneath heavy packs. Their clothes were torn. Their boots worn through. And their faces were thin with hunger. The land behind them stretched wide and empty. The land ahead looked the same. Rocky hills, frozen ground, and a sky that gave little warmth. They had been traveling for days, maybe weeks. The cold had bitten their hands, and the silence of the wild pressed in around them. One of the men limped badly. His ankle had been twisted on rough ground. Each step was sharp with pain, but he didn't complain. The other man walked ahead, not speaking, not waiting. They were too tired for talk. When they reached a narrow stream, they stopped. The limping man tried to cross, but his foot slipped on a wet stone. He cried out and fell. The icy water pulled at his pack, dragging him down. "Help me!" he shouted. The other man turned. He looked, but he did not move. For a moment he stood there, staring, then turned and kept walking. "Wait!" the hurt man called again. "Don't leave me!" But his partner was already climbing the next hill, not looking back. For a long while, the man lay still in the water. He was cold and alone. Then slowly, he crawled to the edge, pulled off his wet gloves, and sat down. His fingers were stiff, his ankle throbbing. He looked around. There was nothing but rocks and grey sky. His partner was gone. He was alone now. But he did not give up. He stood, slowly, painfully, and adjusted the pack on his back. His ankle was swollen, and his feet were numb. Still, he began to walk. The wind blew sharp across the land. His face burned from the cold. Each breath felt heavy in his chest. But he moved forward. He had to reach the river. He had to reach the ship. He did not know how far it was, only that he must keep walking. He had no food left. The last scrap of meat had been eaten long ago. He chewed on bits of leather from his gloves. He sucked on pebbles to keep the dryness out of his mouth. Once, he found a dead bird, frozen stiff under a bush. He cracked it open and ate it raw, bones and all. Another time, he found a few red berries and ate them, bitter as they were. His body grew weaker. His legs trembled beneath him. He fell often, scraping his hands and knees. But each time he got back up, his lips were cracked and bleeding. His eyes stung from the wind. His hands were so numb he could hardly hold his walking stick. Still he walked. He began to speak to himself, softly at first, then louder. He said his name. He said it again and again, as though trying not to forget who he was. He sang old songs, half-remembered tunes from long ago. He whispered stories to himself, just to hear a voice in the silence. One day, crawling over a patch of rocky ground, he saw a shadow move, a low, grey shape, silent as smoke. A wolf! It stood watching him, just far enough away. The wolf was thin, so thin its ribs showed through its fur. Its eyes were bright and hungry. It limped as it moved, just as the man did. It was weak, but not too weak to wait. It had been following him for some time, maybe days. It was waiting for the man to fall. The man picked up a rock and threw it. The wolf backed away. When he stopped to rest, the wolf stopped too. When he moved on, it followed. A quiet war had begun between them. Neither had strength to fight, but neither could walk away. The man found an old caribou skeleton buried in snow. He boiled the bones in his tin pot again and again, drinking the same water over and over, pulling every bit of life he could from the bone. He tore pieces of his belt and chewed them like jerky. He stripped bark from trees. He ate moss, dry and tasteless, but he ate. He did not stop. The wolf came closer now, each day nearer than before. Once, when the man collapsed in the snow, the wolf crept forward. Its tongue lolled. Its eyes locked on the man's chest, waiting for it to stop rising. But the man opened his eyes. He grabbed a stick and swung it. The wolf limped away. The man laughed. His laugh was dry and cracked. But it was real. He was still alive. Days passed. The man was crawling now. His legs were no longer strong enough to carry him. His hands were raw. His arms shook. The cold wrapped around him like a heavy coat. His thoughts drifted in and out like dreams. Sometimes he saw things that weren't there. A warm fire. A bowl of stew. A bed with thick blankets. He reached out, but there was only snow. And then, one morning, he saw something far off. A dark line against the white. He squinted, trying to focus. It was the river. And beyond it, a shape, a mast, a ship. He tried to shout, but no sound came. He tried to wave, but his arm would not rise. He dragged himself forward, inch by inch. He reached the edge of the river. The ice was thin. The ship was close now, close enough to see people moving on the deck. He raised his head. Then everything went black. When he woke again, he was warm. Blankets were wrapped around him. His hands were clean. His feet were bandaged. Men stood around his bed, looking down at him with wide eyes. "You're lucky," one of them said. "We nearly missed you." He didn't answer. He was too weak. But he smiled. He had made it. He had lived. No one ever saw the wolf again.